Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Puerto Rico Life. My name is Jeff Hulse, and I am not in Puerto Rico. But in this video, I want to talk to you about why I chose Puerto Rico and the life-changing benefits that you might not know about. So be sure to stick around. Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in paradise while saving money on taxes, building wealth? Here's why I made the leap to Puerto Rico and how it changed my life forever. Full disclosure, I'm not actually taking advantage of the tax things, and we'll get into that. So be sure to stick around and understand why I, as a person who loves Puerto Rico, chose not to become a Puerto Rican resident, even though I am buying a place there and have had a place there for the last 3 years. Okay, so, I decided during COVID that I wanted to change some stuff up. And I'd missed traveling. The world was shut down for a while. And Puerto Rico is a protectorate of the United States. I think that's what they're calling it these days. Um, it's a nice way of saying what their status really is. But anyway, so Puerto Rico, part of the United States, a pertinent territory, if you will, whatever you want to call it, has certain advantages, especially during a time like COVID, when under the policy at the time in early 2021, if you left the United States and came back, you had to have a negative COVID test to get back into the country. And I wanted to go away with a friend of mine for a weekend. So I was going to go for the weekend somewhere, and I didn't want to get stuck in that place. And I noticed that you needed a COVID test to get to Puerto Rico, but you didn't need one to get back. So that's why I went and visited Puerto Rico. I'd been there before, first time over 20 years ago now. So 2021 in March, I flew to Puerto Rico with my friend, and I spent a long weekend in Puerto Rico in San Juan. We stayed at the Caribe Hilton. We ate at Morton's. There was still um, a lot of COVID restrictions in place, but we were able to enjoy the weather and enjoy the people. And I actually had a conversation with best-selling author and economist Harry Dent while I was there. We went out to lunch with him, and he was telling me about how the Puerto Rican tax incentives work and why they were a great, benefit for people in certain situations. And I talked to a real estate developer I know that was living in Puerto Rico at the time. And I thought, I should go. And I've made a whole video about this, which I'll go ahead and stick right up there. That video was, don't tell my wife I'm moving to Puerto Rico, where I talked about why I decided to go to Puerto Rico. But anyway, I've always wanted to live an extraordinary life. It's a big passion of mine. And Puerto Rico fit right into that vision because the culture is amazing, the weather's amazing, and then you have the financial incentives. Now, like I said, I personally didn't end up using the financial incentives and still am not a resident there, but I have had a place in Isla Verde for the last 3 years, more than 3 years now, and I'm in the process of actually buying my own condo also in Isla Verde. And I've done a video about that, which, you know what, we'll go ahead and put that one up there as well. Anyway, so I'm going to give you a couple of benefits of living in Puerto Rico. So, the first one is the view. I mean, the view from my balcony is ridiculous. It is so amazing. I can't even begin to explain how beautiful it is. So hopefully these videos will show you a little bit about that and you can see, how beautiful it is. So the beach is amazing. It's super walkable. If you stay in the San Juan area, you don't even need a car. You really don't even need to learn to speak Spanish. But you can do those things. You can get a car. You can go to El Yunque. You can go to the West Coast. You can go to Fajardo, Luquillo, Rio Grande, like all of these amazing places all around the islands. You can go up into the mountains. You can go do things like the Pork Highway Tour, which I made a video about that as well. So there's so many amazing things that you can do in and around Puerto Rico. The culture is unique blend of colonial Spanish influences, native Taino influences, African slave influences, and then American culture. So it's this weird blend, and it's really unlike anywhere else that I've been anywhere else in the world. So that is amazing. And then, of course, Puerto Rican food is it's a little bit heavy on the fried, to be honest, but it is amazing. Plantain forward things like mofungos, bifungos, trifungos, tostones, but things like queso frito and can pork chops and pinchos. I mean, there's so many like really amazing things. And then they have their own version of empanadas, like empadilla, that are amazing. But I mean, I've had some of the most amazing food since I've been in Puerto Rico. And then you have really interesting alcohol culture. You know, we've done rum tours on this channel, but lots of different Puerto Rican rums, lots of great cocktail spots, lots of beautiful locations with excellent cocktails with views, things like that. So lots and lots of different options there. Okay, so that's the lifestyle part, and that's what I've been attracted to. But there's also all these financial incentives like the Act 60 tax benefits, which allow people to move to Puerto Rico without giving up their U.S. citizenship and be exempt from federal income tax. I mean, obviously, get some tax advice. Don't just rely on some YouTube video to tell you how that works. But there's some really big tax incentives there. There are things that will dramatically reduce your taxes, potentially to as low as 0% for cryptocurrency traders, or maybe 4% for people that are doing some kind of export service. And we're utilizing some of those going forward for the construction of our manufacturing business, Mahoro Catamans, where we are excited to announce that we've actually signed the lease and taken possession of the land in Ponce. So we can now start with the next phase of that project, which is really, really exciting. But, you know, there's an associated benefit to me to these tax incentives, even if I don't take advantage of the tax incentives ever, right? I think I will with Mahoro, but and probably with El Bastion, our cigar company that we started. But even if I never were to take advantage of them, the people that they draw in are interesting people doing interesting things. So, you know, the fact that I can casually say I had lunch with, you know, best-selling author and economist Harry Dent is pretty cool. But it's not just the names that people have heard of, and you may or may not have heard of them. I mean, obviously, you've got the big name people that everyone have heard of, that have been living in Puerto Rico, but you have so many people that are just really cool. Like one day I was talking to a guy about a AI open government startup that he was working. Another time I met Spencer Tunick, the artist who's sort of become famous for taking large mass scale nudes, like, you know, 1,000 nude people in front of the opera house in Sydney or something like that. So Spencer Tunick, I got to meet him in San Juan. I mean, there's just so many times that I've met some amazing people. I mean, just last week, I was able to fly in a helicopter to Sanse, this San Sebastian festival, something which I would never have even dreamed possible if it wasn't for the fact that I was in Puerto Rico. I didn't have to pay anything. Like the guy just gave me a helicopter ride. And I mean, if you haven't seen that video, you should probably check that one out as well. So the opportunities to network, for entrepreneurship, for investment, it's really kind of extraordinary. And you know, with the Extraordinary Life formula and the Last Life Ever foundation and Last Life Ever brand, what we've always talked about is you know, five interconnected pillars. The first one being discovering your purpose. The second one, cultivating empowering habits. The third one, financial freedom. The fourth one, extraordinary experiences. And the fifth one, giving back to your community. And it's really easy to do all five of those in Puerto Rico. So yeah, really, really extraordinary place. Now, I do need to tell you there are some challenges of being in Puerto Rico. I mean, it's not perfect, right? And I've met several people that have moved to Puerto Rico for a while and then left. You know, there are plenty of people like my friend Mariah, like you know, there's people like that that have been there for 7 years and love every minute of it and hardly ever leave the island. But there are a lot of people that try to do this. I'm going to be there exactly one day more than half the time, and they live in a tiny little apartment in Puerto Rico, and they have a big house in, you know, some other place in the U.S. And and then they get frustrated because they've got to deal with things like getting their driver's license renewed in Puerto Rico, and they don't speak the language, and they don't have Puerto Rican friends that can help them through the process. So it can be difficult adapting to the challenge. And there's also some pushback. Some of the tax incentives are pretty aggressive, and occasionally you'll get someone who's mad at you or irritated with you because you're taking advantage of the island. Now, I don't think that if you are following the law that you're necessarily taking advantage of the island. The island government could certainly change the tax incentives at any time if they want. But at the same time, there is that perception, and it can cause you know, it can really cause some difficulty. But anyway, so that is a challenge that you might face coming to Puerto Rico. But you know, overall, the networking opportunities, the entrepreneurship opportunities, the lifestyle opportunities greatly outweigh the challenges. And, I mean, I have met some of the best people in Puerto Rico, some that are like me that have traveled to Puerto Rico periodically or occasionally or often. And there are some that have, born and raised in Puerto Rico and have been there their whole life. And I honestly I can count on one hand the people I've met that haven't been amazing. Like I've met so many amazing people, but there are very few people that I've been where I didn't trust them, or I thought that they were trying to take advantage of me in some way, or I just thought they were bad people. But there's maybe two or three of those total. In more than 3 years of going there and meeting literally hundreds of people, and even just walking around Sanse, I realized how many people I know. I ran into so many people that I just knew, like I'd say 6 or 7 people just randomly ran into that I knew, and that it's just such a great feeling to be able to build that kind of connection to the local community. So, if you've ever considered making a move to Puerto Rico, or you just want to learn more about what it's like to live in Puerto Rico, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your questions in the comments. I'd love to produce answers to those. So, if you ask me a question in the comments, I'll try to make a video about it. And I think if you are going to make your leap and you're going to come to Puerto Rico, let me know, and maybe we can interview on the channel and we can talk to you about that process and how that worked for you, because I do think that everyone's experience is going to be a little bit differently. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you stuck around this long, thank you so much. And if you want to learn more about Puerto Rico, obviously subscribe to the channel, but we also have in the comments, or I mean in the description below, a link to the Puerto Rico Life Facebook group, which is where I share additional content about Puerto Rico, and you can talk to people that are interested in Puerto Rico. So it's a great little free way to get involved in Puerto Rico life. Thank you so much, and I hope you have an amazing day. I realized that I forgot to tell you, so I'm just going to do this little add on here, why I don't have the Puerto Rican tax incentive. So I'm a real estate investor, and I have a ton of depreciation. Depreciation is not recognized in the same way in Puerto Rico, and as a result, I actually pay less taxes now than I would in Puerto Rico. But I love Puerto Rico so much, I just keep going back. I love it. If I could be there all the time, I would, but sometimes I got to be in my office.